Hello viewer and welcome to Worldview, a program designed to bring you up to speed with trending developments the world over. My name is Xavier Robert, reaching you live from Uyó, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. And on our top stories today, India's Chandrayaan-3 has become the first space mission to land near the south pole of the moon. We'll bring you details. A BRICS summit open in South Africa as the loosely defined club of large emerging economies seeks to assert its voice as a counterweight to Western-led international order. Russia's President Vladimir Putin tells leaders of China, India, South Africa and Brazil the growing influence of their BRICS group will lead to a multi-polar world. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. First on Worldview today, India's Chandrayaan-3 has become the first space mission to land near the south pole of the moon. PM Narendra Modi announced that India is now on the moon immediately after the Vikram lander touched down on the lunar surface. Inside the lander is the six-wheeled Pragyan rover, which, if all goes to plan, will roam the lunar surface gathering images and data. The scientists believe craters that are permanently in shadow on the dark side of the moon may hold frozen water. The attempt, India's third lunar mission, comes days after Russia's unmanned Luna 25 spacecraft spun out of control and crashed into the moon. Meanwhile, at least 17 people have been killed and more are feared missing after a railway bridge under construction collapsed in northeastern India. According to officials, the incident occurred near the town of Sairang in the state of Mizoram. Up to 40 workers were at the site when part of the bridge toppled, according to local media reports. The cause of the bridge's collapse is not yet clear. The state-run railway authority has opened an investigation into the incident. Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga, who uses one name, said emergency workers had recovered 17 bodies so far, with many local people helping with rescue efforts. The government will pay some 200,000 rupees to the next of kin of those killed. It added, now accidents on these kinds of construction sites are not uncommon in India. In October last year, more than 140 people were reportedly killed in Gujarat when a pedestrian suspension bridge collapsed in India's western state of Gujarat. Away from that, now the BRICS summit opened in South Africa as the loosely defined club of large emerging economies seeks to assert its voice as a counterweight to the Western-led international order. The BRICS nations of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa represent a quarter of the global economy, and interest in joining the group surged ahead of its three-day summit in Johannesburg. Reports say that security has been bolstered across the city, where South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting China's President Xi Jinping, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and some 50 other leaders. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who is the target of an international arrest warrant over alleged war crimes in Ukraine, did not attend in person and had addressed the summit via pre-recorded video. Russia will be represented in Johannesburg by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Meanwhile, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has told the leaders of China, India, South Africa and Brazil that the growing influence of their BRICS group will lead to a multipolar world. Addressing the summit in Johannesburg by video, Putin said he opposed the sway exerted by the G7 and other Western-led groups. He is unable to attend in person because he faces an international arrest warrant over Ukraine. The Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for the expansion of BRICS, saying it would make global governance fairer. Countries including Iran, Ethiopia and Algeria have expressed interest in joining. However, Brazil has cautioned against making the grouping an alternative to the G7. In the meantime, one of Russia's leading military figures, General Sergei Surovikin, has reportedly lost his job as Air Force Chief after weeks of speculation about his disappearance from public view. RIA Novosti agency said he had been relieved of his post, citing a source. For several months, General Surovikin was in charge of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but he has not been seen since the Wagner mutiny in June. Observers believe his removal dates back to the botched rebellion. One Russian report quoted a defense ministry source as saying he had been dismissed because of a transfer to a new job, and he was now on a short vacation. His role as head of aerospace forces has been taken on by Air Force Chief of Staff General Viktor Avzalov, RIA Novosti adds. Away from that, now White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has said that the war in Ukraine has not botched down into a stalemate amid increasing concerns about the slow territorial gains of Kiev's counteroffensive. He called the situation dynamic, with both Russian and Ukrainian forces on the defensive and offensive at the same time, depending on the location on the lengthy battlefront. He said notably in the south that Russia will attack in places, and they are attacking, but also Ukraine is attacking and also making gains. He described Ukraine's counteroffensive as methodical and adapting to challenges, and said Kiev's generals also need to fight sustainably to be able to pressure Russian forces over the longer run. Sullivan said the United States remains fully committed to supporting Kiev's fight, even as he would not predict how the most recent efforts will uphold. In a separate development, the region's local governor Alexander Bogomaz has said Moscow's forces have repelled an attempt by alleged Ukrainian saboteurs to break into the Russian border region of Bryansk. Russian regions bordering Ukraine have reportedly repeated shelling and attacks from Kiev's forces, including occasional cross-border incursions by pro-Ukraine armed militants. Bogomaz said the attack was repelled by multiple security agencies, including the FSB, Defense Ministry and National Guard, but that measures are underway to ensure the safety of civilians. Meanwhile, Ukraine denied responsibility for the attacks, blaming instead Russian partisan groups opposed to President Vladimir Putin. In a separate development, suspected armed Islamists have reportedly killed 12 soldiers in Niger's remote southwest in the latest attack since army officers seized power last month. According to reports, an anti-jihadist operation by National Guards was the target of an ambush Sunday evening at the locality of Anzoro in the Tillaberi region